I'm standing in what used to be the richest city in the world. Behind me, you can still see the silver inlay on these walls. That shimmer? That's what $30 billion looks like when it's dead. My name is Marcus Thorne. I'm a financial analyst. But today, I'm standing in the ruins of Aethelgard, a medieval kingdom that went from superpower to ghost town in 18 months. Here's what's keeping me up at night. I'm seeing the exact same pattern today. Same war take, same countdown to collapse. 3 months ago, I watched a tech CEO lose everything. Company worth $2 billion. Gone. Not because of bad products, not because of competition, because of the God seam. 6 weeks ago, I watched an entire manufacturing town in Ohio die. 12,000 people. Unemployment skyrocketed from 4% to 71% in 1 year. The God seam. And right now, there's a 93% chance you're making the same mistake. The mistake that killed kingdoms. The mistake that's killing companies. The mistake that will kill your financial future if you don't understand what I'm about to show you. This is the story of how an entire civilization bet everything on one thing. How they lost, and how the survivors discovered something so powerful, it turned them from victims into conquerors. By the end of this, you'll know exactly where your God seam is, and what to do about it before it collapses. The clock is already ticking. Let's begin. Year 1347. The Kingdom of Aethelgard. Population 80,000. Economy 100% dependent on a single silver mine. They called it the God Seam, a vein of silver so pure, so massive, that one mine produced more wealth than entire empires. At its peak, this mine generated the medieval equivalent of $5 billion per year. Let me paint you a picture of what that wealth created. The capital city was a masterpiece. Every building had silver inlay. The canals that ran through the city were lined with polished silver. Even the poorest citizen wore silver jewelry. It wasn't just wealth. It was abundance so extreme it became identity. But here's what they stopped doing. They stopped farming. Why grow wheat when you can buy it from neighboring kingdoms with silver? They shut down their farms, turned agricultural land into luxury estates. They stopped fishing. Why maintain a fleet when other kingdoms will trade fish for silver? They let their shipbuilding industry die. They stopped training soldiers. Why maintain an army when you can hire mercenaries with silver? They disbanded 3/4 of their military. They stopped innovating. Why invest in new industries when silver was so profitable? They killed their craftsman guilds, their universities, their research. Everything became about the mine. The entire kingdom optimized for one thing: extracting silver and converting it into immediate consumption. Does this sound familiar? It should. Let me show you the modern version. Detroit, 1950s. The automotive capital of the world. General Motors, Ford, Chrysler. The Big Three employed over 200,000 people directly. Another 500,000 jobs depended on them indirectly. The city optimized everything around automobile manufacturing. Schools taught auto mechanics. Banks financed car companies. Real estate boomed because of auto workers. Restaurants, shops, services, everything revolved around one industry. What happened? The Big Three declined. Automation reduced jobs. Competition from overseas intensified. And Detroit collapsed. From 2 million people in 1950 to under 700,000 today. 70,000 abandoned buildings. Bankruptcy in 2013, one industry. Total dependence. Catastrophic failure. Or take Kodak. In 1996, Kodak employed 145,000 people. They had 72% of the film market. They were so dominant, Kodak moment became part of the English language. They invented the digital camera in 1975, but they buried the technology because it threatened their film business. Their God seam was photographic film. So they optimized everything around film, ignored digital, protected the God seam at all costs. 2012, Kodak filed for bankruptcy. The digital camera revolution they invented destroyed them. Or Blockbuster, 9,000 stores, 85,000 employees, $6 billion in revenue at their peak. Their God seam was late fees. 16% of their revenue came from customers returning movies late. Netflix offered to partner with them in 2000. Blockbuster said no. Why? It would threaten late fee revenue. They protected the God seam. Netflix pivoted. Blockbuster died. Last store closed in 2019. The pattern is always the same. Find something incredibly profitable. Optimize everything around it. Become dependent on it. Ignore alternatives. Then watch it collapse. Aethelgard was doing this in 1347. You might be doing it right now. Year 1349. 2 years after our story begins. The Royal Feast Hall. King Aldrich is celebrating another record year. The God seam produced even more silver than last year. Toasts are made. Optimism is high. The future has never looked brighter. Then the castle shakes. Not violently, just a tremor. Enough to rattle goblets. Enough to make people look around confused. Then silence. Here's what nobody realized. That tremor wasn't the problem. The silence was. For 50 years, there had been a constant low rumble from the mines below the city. So constant that people stopped noticing it, like traffic noise in a city. It was always there, until it wasn't. A messenger arrives, covered in rock dust, face white with terror. The God seam, the main shaft collapsed. It's gone, all of it. Buried under 1 million tons of rock. Panic doesn't describe what happened next. Panic is what you feel when something bad happens. This was different. This was existential dread. The sudden realization that everything you built is about to vanish. The king asks the royal advisor, a man named Kardok, one question. How long can we survive? Kardok does the math. With silver reserves, they can maintain imports for maybe 6 months. Maybe. If nothing else goes wrong, if prices don't spike, if trade partners don't panic, they have 6 months before Aethelgard starves. Now let me show you the modern parallel because it's happening right now. 2008, Lehman Brothers, founded 1850, survived the Civil War, 2 world wars, the Great Depression. Assets worth $690 billion. Their God seam? Mortgage-backed securities. They made massive profits packaging home loans and selling them, so they went all in. By 2008, they had borrowed $30 for every dollar they actually had. Leverage ratio of 31.1. When housing prices dropped, their God seam collapsed. September 15, 2008. Lehman Brothers declared bankruptcy. Largest bankruptcy in U.S. history. 26,000 jobs gone instantly. Global financial crisis triggered. 6 months from perfect to dead. Or take MySpace. 2006. Valued at $12 billion. More users than Google. The God seam was advertising revenue from social networking. Then Facebook opened to everyone. MySpace executives made a fatal decision. Protect the existing model. Keep the cluttered design. Keep the aggressive ads. Don't innovate because the current system works. 2 years later, Facebook surpassed them. 4 years later, MySpace was sold for $35 million. From $12 billion to $35 million. 99.7% loss of value. This is happening right now in thousands of lives. The lawyer who only does real estate law. The programmer who only knows one obsolete language. The salesperson whose entire client base is one company. The investor whose portfolio is 90% one stock. Everyone thinks they're the exception. Everyone thinks their God seam is different, more stable, safer. Aethelgard thought that too. Kardok, the royal advisor, stands over a table. But it's not a battle map. It's an economic map. Every resource the kingdom has, every dependency, every vulnerability. The king looks at him. How do we survive? Kadok stares at the map for a long moment. Then he says something that changes everything. Survival isn't the goal. Evolution is. We don't need a new mine. We need a new model. He draws 5 points around the kingdom's center, 5 pillars, each one a completely different source of power. We can't just replace silver with gold. We need to become a kingdom that can't be killed by a single failure. We need redundancy. We need diversity. We need anti-fragility. Here's what they built, and here's the modern parallel for each one. Pillar 1, Sky Farms. They turned every castle wall, every tower, every vertical surface into farmland. Hydroponic systems using water from the canals, vertical gardens, rooftop agriculture. Within 6 months, they were producing 60% of their food locally. Modern equivalent? Multiple income streams. If you're a graphic designer, you also teach courses. You also sell templates. You also do consulting. You also license your designs. 5 different revenue streams from one skill set. Pillar 2, Ghost Fleet. They couldn't compete on cargo volume anymore, so they pivoted to speed. They built sleek, fast ships designed to deliver high-value goods quickly. They became the express shipping of the medieval world. Modern equivalent? Niche expertise. You can't compete with Amazon on everything, but you can be the world's best at one specific thing. The lawyer who only does crypto law. The trainer who only works with post-injury recovery. Narrow focus, premium pricing. Pillar 3, Ledger Legion. They took their administrative skills and turned them into a service. Accounting, auditing, financial analysis, contract law. They became the kingdom everyone hired to manage their economy. Modern equivalent? Leverage your knowledge. If you know how to do something well, teach it, consult on it, create systems around it. Your expertise becomes the product. Pillar 4, Forge of Minds. They stopped making weapons, started making precision instruments, medical tools, scientific equipment, engineering devices. High value, low volume, technical expertise required. Modern equivalent? Skill stacking. You're not just a writer. You're a writer who understands SEO and AI tools and video production. The combination of skills creates unique value. Pillar 5, Echo of Silver. They took their remaining silver and did something brilliant. Instead of spending it, they turned it into limited edition luxury artifacts. Scarcity created value. Their past became a premium brand. Modern equivalent? Build assets, not income. Create things that generate value without your time. Courses. Books, software, investments, intellectual property. Things that work while you sleep. 5 pillars, each one independent, each one profitable. If one fails, 4 remain. This is how you kill the god seam. Their neighbors smelled blood. King Volric of the neighboring kingdom saw an opportunity. Aethelgard was weak, vulnerable, ripe for conquest. He launched an economic siege, embargoed their trade, blocked their access to ports, spread rumors they were bankrupt, tried to isolate them until they collapsed. He expected surrender within months. He didn't understand what Aethelgard had become. The Ghost Fleet bypassed his blockades, too fast to intercept. They delivered goods through alternate routes he couldn't control. The Ledger Legion discovered fraud in Volric's own treasury, exposed it publicly. His economy destabilized. His nobles started questioning his leadership. The Forge of Minds created tools that other kingdoms needed. Suddenly, trade partners had to choose: Volric's politics or Aethelgard's innovation. They chose innovation. The Sky Farms made them self-sufficient. The blockade on food didn't work because they weren't dependent on imports anymore. The Echo of Silver attracted wealthy buyers from across the continent. Luxury goods don't care about embargoes. Volric's strategy was to attack their weakness. But they didn't have a single point of failure anymore. Every attack hit a different pillar, and the other 4 kept them standing. Here's the modern parallel, and you need to hear this. 2020. COVID-19 hits. The entire economy shuts down. Businesses die by the thousands. But watch what happens to people with 5 pillars. The graphic designer who also teaches? In-person clients disappear, but online courses explode. 1 pillar falls, 4 remain. The restaurant owner who also has a catering business and sells packaged goods and does cooking classes? Dine-in dies, but the other 3 adapt and scale. 1 pillar falls, 4 remain. The programmer who also does consulting and creates software products and teaches workshops? Some clients can't pay, but the other revenue streams absorb the loss. 1 pillar falls, 4 remain. Compare that to the restaurant that only does dine-in. Gone. The event planner who only does in-person events. Gone. The travel agent who only books cruises. Gone. 1 pillar. 1 vulnerability. 1 failure point. Dead. The 5-pillar strategy isn't about working 5 times harder. It's about building systems where each pillar supports the others, where failure in one area doesn't mean total collapse. 1 year after the God Seam collapsed, King Volric comes to Aethelgard, not as a conqueror, as a supplicant. His economy is in shambles. His attempt to destroy Aethelgard backfired. He overextended. He spent massive resources on the siege. He neglected his own infrastructure while focusing on conquest. And now he's the one collapsing. He needs a loan from the kingdom he tried to destroy. Kadok, the advisor, looks at him and smiles. Of course we'll help you, with terms naturally. They restructured Volric's entire economy, took equity stakes in his most profitable industries, installed their ledger legion to manage his finances. Essentially, they bought control of his kingdom without firing a single arrow. The God Seam collapse was the best thing that ever happened to Aethelgard. It forced evolution. It forced diversity. It forced them to build something that couldn't be killed. Modern version? This is happening right now. The journalist who was laid off from a newspaper in 2015 thought her career was over, forced to diversify, started a newsletter, added consulting, created a course, built a community, now makes more than she did at the newspaper. And she's unfireable. The factory worker whose plant closed in 2018 thought his life was over, forced to adapt, learned coding, started freelancing, built a portfolio, now works remote, makes more money, has complete freedom. The factory closing saved him. Pattern recognition time. The crisis that forces you to build 5 pillars saves you from the bigger crisis that's coming. So here's the uncomfortable question. Where's your God Seam? Is your entire income from one employer? That's a God Seam, and it can collapse tomorrow. Is your entire net worth in one asset? Your house? One stock? Bitcoin? That's a God Seam, and it can collapse tomorrow. Is your entire skill set in one area? One software program? One industry? One technique? That's a God Seam, and it can become obsolete tomorrow. Is your entire client base one company? Is your entire business model one platform? Is your entire social network one community? Those are God Seams, all of them. Here's what I need you to understand. The God Seam always feels safe until the moment it collapses. The Kingdom of Aethelgard went from extinction-level event to empire in 18 months because they were forced to evolve. Don't wait to be forced. Evolve now. Build your 5 pillars now. Diversify now, because the God Seam always collapses. The only question is whether you'll be ready. I'm standing in ruins because one civilization wasn't ready. Don't let these ruins be yours. Now build your pillars. And if you like my stories and more like this, please like and subscribe to my channel.